What's up? What's up? This is Sharif Ali, publisher, editor of the Moors in America blog website. That's www.moorsinamerica.com. Also on fezcaps.com, Morris Apparel. Be sure to check that out. And I'll have the site that's got all types of information on the quote unquote black people or African Americans, the black people of America. So I'd say Moorish American, but hey, I know everybody doesn't agree with that or know what I'm talking about. So just for the sake of this video, we're gonna say black people. So I mean, just right off the bat, you see this. This is the type of information on here. I have this DNA report from the Smithsonian that links the first Americans in the Amazon to people from the Pacific Ocean that look like this, and black people, modern black people. And I remember there was a show with CeeLo's daughter. They dropped her off in an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with people that look like this. This was the island too. It was called Vanuatu. And so, like, we have black people in the Pacific Ocean. The original Hawaiians are black. You know, everywhere we go, you see black people. So it's not really that crazy or weird to think that black people were also native to this land. But we're going to get deeper further into this. One of the main reasons I made this video, though, is just because every now and then catch some hate, some people, some comments, and going crazy over the information, and just thought it'd be cool to put this out there. And just to show that this isn't just a bunch of crazy information. It's not just my ideas or what have it. This is just, ignore this. We'll get back to this later. Some hater that fake Indian had to say a little piece about my site. So yeah, love this article, love this picture too that you saw up above. But as you can see, it's going in about the ancient Moors in America, the black people from America, and how we didn't all come over here on slave ships. Now this site, this article isn't saying that no one came from Africa or that no one was enslaved. I lived in a place in Brazil for years that was like probably the closest point to Africa, and I've seen vestiges actually of the African slave trades, but I'm gonna get into that too. We're gonna cover all that. You can see there's a lot of stuff on here. I mean, the sources that I have on here. This is an old book that's like 250 years old or so, more than 250 years old, and have Wikipedia links. It's not all Afrocentric stuff. I mean, we have books, and even then, some of this Afrocentric information that you would call is coming from people who are professors who teach at prestigious universities like John Hopkins University, and they're not fools. And so just because they're black and they're well educated and they're putting out information like this doesn't discount it. It's like, get the hell out of here. You can't discount years of research and actually going to these places and excavating. So it's just the information doesn't sit well with people who are trying to uphold white supremacy. So I mean, right off the bat, I have quotes on here from 400-year-old book. This got, descriptions by the European explorers who tell how the people that they met, what they look like. I mean, Christopher Columbus himself, he said that when he came here, the native people looked like Ethiopians. They were dark-skinned. They were black people. All the Europeans who sailed to America they drew pictures of the people, and they said they were dark-skinned, copper-colored people, had afros, long hair, wavy hair. Okay, there's a lot of fake outrage over this picture of Pharrell. I remember years ago he was on this cover, and I think he said he had some Native American roots, but there's a lot of fake outrage from these Native Americans who are basically European, and they're pissed off because they're like, well, he's perpetrating or something. He's, just fake outrage because they're not really mad. They just don't want to see black people doing this, And I mean, he looks way more like the definition of a Native American, or at least the older descriptions, than the modern Europeans who are claiming to be Native Americans, especially the people who are pissed off about him taking this picture. They look nothing like, I know these images of the mascots and stuff, the Native Americans get pissed at this, but the Native Americans are pissed because they don't look anything like this. I mean, the Redskins, his skin's not red, it's brown, dark brown. And even though Pharrell Williams is a light-skinned black dude, he still looks way closer to this than these guys you see walking around claiming to be Native American. Okay? Alright, so there's a lot of fake outrage. I mean, he looks far more similar to these old descriptions. And once again, these are mascots. I'm not taking this out of context, but he looks far more like that than this, you know. And I'm using that for an example, and we'll get back to that later so that you understand. But yeah, a lot of fake outrage, and it's annoying if you know better, you know. I mean, like, I'm trying to find some more images, but we'll get back to that later. But we're gonna blow all of this stuff out the water. I mean, you have black people all over, from North, South, Central America, the Caribbean, everywhere they went. Columbus described the dark-skinned natives as looking like black people, right? And it's crazy just even to think about where's all this coming from. I mean, like, all right, where I used to live at in Brazil, we saw the connection to Africa. I mean, like, I lived in this place called Salvador da Bahia, and it's like the closest point to Africa where I lived was like right here, almost on the tip of Brazil, and so it's very close. And like, there were slave quarters, and you can see, I mean, there's people who practice this Afro religion called Candomblé, and there's connections to Yoruba, and some people who speak it who practice, it's basically voodoo. People who practice it speak Yoruba. So I mean, you see that in the West Indies. I mean, my wife is Haitian, Puerto Rican, so we see that, we see it, and it's there. But that's not all it is. The numbers don't add up. These statistics that I have on here, I didn't make them up. They're coming from, this is from Simon & Schuster. This is a white publication, basically. And this is just giving you statistics on the on the slave trade. And it's saying, here you see 500,000 Africans were transported just to North America, right? And this is over like 250 years. The horrible conditions that they told us about in history meant that half of the people died on the journey. So you actually have about 250 to 300,000 over a period of 240 years. And I'm not going to go into all the numbers. It is broken down in this article. You can check it out for yourself. But in 2013, the census said there's 45 million Americans, black Americans, right? So the growth rate is ridiculous. And then they tell us that only 1% of all indigenous people are still here, that they killed them all off, like, and not that far after the Europeans arrived, that they had already killed like 95% off. So there's only 1% of the people here today. You have a ridiculously high growth rate for African Americans, you know, especially considering how many they could have brought over here. So there's something that's not adding up. All right, around 1900, it was thought Native Americans were extinct, right? There was only 250,000 left, right? Yet we have real artifacts, real actual artifacts, descriptions and everything of the dark-skinned, curly-haired, texture natives. So, I mean, if you look at this picture right here, this is a great picture. You see the copper skin tone. Who looks more like the copper skin tone to you? I mean, to me, it's no question, you know? Who actually looks more like a Native American? These are the people who is getting mad at seeing people like this lady, people who look like Pharrell, claiming their Native American heritage. It just pisses them off. They can't take it, right? So, I mean, there's something wrong with this picture. These guys are just pulling the wool over your eyes. So there's a lot more to it, though. I mean, like, the slave trade, you have people that came from Africa, but the biggest part of the slave trade is something that's not really talked about, you know? It was briefly discussed in this movie, 12 Years a Slave. I mean, the movie actually was based off of a true story. Okay, I believe it was taken from the journals of somebody who had been enslaved. So there's some truth possibly in the story of this man. But well, I'm gonna go back to this picture again. I mean, what, you just got that copper skin tone, and that kills me that they can do that. But okay, so in the movie 12 Years a Slave, you got this guy. He's free. Obviously, he's educated. He plays violin, so he's skilled, and he's doing good money-wise. And these guys, these two white dudes, come along, tell him they have a gig for him. They capture him, you know, trick him. He's tortured, sold off into slavery, sent off somewhere else, and You know, he witnesses children getting taken away from their parents and sold off into slavery. And this is how it happened. This was the internal slave trade, and it was huge. It was huge. If you were white back then, you know, if you were a free white person, because there were white slaves too. If you were a free white person, no, you could just go capture a black person, sell them off into slavery, and get paid and come up. So it was real lucrative, and they broke up families. You know, you had generational ties that went back further than any Europeans here. Even Glenn Beck, who definitely is not trying to big up black people, you know, talked about this before. I wish I could find that video where he talked about, he put it on blast. He's like, all the white people telling black people to go back to Africa have no place in saying that when African Americans have been here longer than anyone else. And he wasn't talking about us being indigenous. He was just going off of the slave narrative, which has us being here for 300-400 years. How the fuck could we be here that long? So yeah, the internal slave trade was huge. And you broke up families, you sent the children off, you sent people off in all these different directions, and you tell them they came from some far off land called Africa. You know, which isn't a country, by the way. So people have no ties to any kind of culture or any kind of nation, anything. You know, so it was huge. And, you know, you broke up families, and this is how come things are like they are to this day. And this is also how you disconnected people from their heritage and their land and what was really theirs. So the children got split up, and all this stuff was going on while the Trail of Tears and all this stuff was going on, where Andrew Jackson is making all the Cherokee march all the way to Oklahoma. People getting kidnapped and sent off into slavery, okay? And they're not Native Americans anymore, they're Negroes, you know? And this stuff was just happening. I mean, you had all types of stuff going on at this time, okay? So there was a lot of work being put in to taking the land from the people. And we're always told how the Native Americans getting their land taken from them, and this is how it happened, okay? So, you know, you had white people who actually married into the tribes, but then you also had people who weren't even of the bloodline at all. You know, they just basically the Indian of Bureau of Affairs and all that stuff had so much leeway within the government that it was set up so that people who were white, you know, or damn near white, would be able to run the affairs for the new Indians, the people who are becoming the Indians. Because if you look at 1836 to 1914, over 30 million Europeans immigrated here. Most Europeans actually came through Ellis Island, came through the East Coast. Okay, so before then, there was far more black people here than any other cultural group or race or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's where you had this huge influx of Europeans, and these people who are Italian, Scandinavian, and all these other different groups who are not indigenous to this land became Native Americans, a lot of them. Okay, so the government opened up the doors of immigration to all these people, and it also made it very easy for them to get Native American status. But it's damn near impossible for black people. And then they also disconnected. So there's a lot more information on here, and once again, like I said, everything is cited, and you can check it out yourself at moresinamerica.com. I'm trying to find something else I can show you so you can see an example of the people who claim to be Native American. Look at this guy, Iron Eyes Cody, famous Native American. He was an actor in Hollywood, and he claimed he was a real Native American. His sister busted him out saying that, you know, their parents were actually Italian. Okay, and so this dude's name is Espera Oscar de Corti. So this motherfucker's Italian. Okay, fuck what he telling you. And his parents immigrated from Sicily, and he lied about this until his death, you know. But this is what passed for Native American. He was in this big commercial where he cries when they throw litter on the ground. But these are the people who passed for Native, and he has no claim to the land, no nothing. But you know, they don't just get the fake status. They also get real benefits like free college and all types of money in there, casinos, and just, I mean, it's a real hustle, a real game that you're missing out on, right? So there's real reasons why they would get pissed off to know that black people are looking into this. Even just looking into it is a threat to some people, which you'll see more of later on. This is just showing some pictures and just some more information about the black natives of California, which may sound crazy to some people, but hey, go and read it, and read it with the open mind. You know, because everything that you're taught in history class definitely is not true. I mean, I can just speak from my own family. My uncle Odell researched our family going back at least 2 centuries. I mean, he put in a lifetime of work into this, like 40 years. Nobody could discount that. My ancestors were Native Americans and cowboys. Okay, I mean, they had old ancestors sitting on horses with cowboy hats and guns and shit. They never show black cowboys on TV though. Every time they show the cowboys, they're all white. They show the Native Americans, they're white. Everybody's white. Look at this. This is really big. This is a definition from the 1828 Webster Dictionary of American. It says a native of America, semicolon, originally applied to the aboriginals or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So this is huge. I'm gonna read it again. It might sound redundant, but I'm doing this for a reason. Okay, this is what American means, or what it did mean. And people might say, well, this is 1828. It doesn't know this. There's a lot going on in 1828. So what that definition said at that point in time is very important, because this is when you had things going on like Native Americans being forced off their land, black people being enslaved, okay, at the same fucking time. So it's telling you American means a native of America that originally applied to the aboriginals or copper colored races founded by the Europeans, but now applies to the descendants of Europeans born in America. That's huge, man. That's huge. It's just letting you know right then and there that was not a mistake. Okay, so we helped Columbus get over here. We were over here when they got here, and we helped Columbus get over here. And I mean, like, this is not a mistake. I mean, I'm just go back to that. That's crazy. That definition right there is just ridiculous, and it gives it all away. I mean, this is the copper-colored native who was originally here, and the Europeans are now Native Americans. Okay, so that's huge. And it just lets you know right then and there. I mean, they kidnapped you, sold you into slavery, and took your status. Okay? And you are just wandering around looking foolish. So don't fall for the okie doke. And don't get confused by the fake outrage. These people wearing these top hats, getting mad that you're claiming your status, you're claiming your heritage. You know, or even just thinking outside of the box, thinking maybe that everything I've been told, maybe, just maybe, it isn't true. Maybe there's more to the picture. So even just the thought of that, and people looking at other alternative sources, reading books for themselves instead of just what you're handed in school, what you see on TV, and seeing what actually was said back then about the Native Americans in the descriptions. Okay, so that 1828 definition is definitely not outdated, because that right there was going on when you had slavery was legal. People were being kidnapped and traded all over the country. The families getting broken up, family ties cut, and they're being told they came from some far off place when actually you came from Alabama. Now you're somewhere else. And I mean, you're told right there in the definition who it now applies to. You know, this guy right here is a Native American, this white guy. And this copper-colored indigenous person is no longer a Native American. I don't know what she is now. She's a Negro, she's colored, she's black, she's African American, she's whatever. But this guy's a Native American. So when Columbus came here, he met black people, and he couldn't get over here without black people. He had more sailors on his ship, but not just sailors, not just people swabbing the deck. I mean, some of you may have heard about Peter the Moor, or Pedro Nino. As you can see, this is actually taken from Wikipedia, but Pedro Alonso Nino Zamora, he was one of the navigators that brought Columbus here. But it wasn't just him. He came with his 4 brothers, and they were all well off. They were all very accomplished sailors. The Nino brothers were all black, by the way, all Moors, and they pretty much already knew about this land over here. This was the land of milk and honey. The Europeans weren't even allowed to come over here. When Moorish Spain fell in 1492, it's no coincidence that that's when Columbus was allowed to come over here, and he wasn't able to do it without black people. Okay, so the Moorish sailors on there with them. Like I said, they weren't just swabbing the decks. They weren't just peons or nobodies or slaves. That's something else you would probably see. They would gladly be like, one of them was a slave that escaped, helped Columbus. It's nothing like that. No, we're gonna go to the Wikipedia page so you can see for yourself, so you can see what this says. And this isn't just Wikipedia, this is peer reviewed, this is all sourced and cited too. That's why I used it. So yeah, the four Nino brothers, Pedro, Alonso, Francisco, Juan, and Bartolome, they were all sailors. They had prestige and experience, man. They knew what the fuck they were doing, and they were masters. I mean, Pedro Alonso was actually the pilot of the Santa Maria. They don't even tell you shit like that in school. Juan Nino was the master of the La Nina, and he was also the owner. He was a ship owner. Francisco Nina was also a sailor. It's like, this is letting you know they were doing it big, and Columbus couldn't even have gotten over here without these black people. And they don't teach you this shit, man. Then nobody's teaching you this. And this isn't made up, so no one can argue with this. It looks stupid arguing with facts, man. Facts, point blank. So if you're getting mad at anything on this site, you're crazy. Had one guy who always comments on here. His name's, he keeps himself anonymous, and he's going on and on about Mexico, because you see this thing about the pyramids and talking about the presence of the people who are called the Olmec. Okay, they were black people. They actually created the civilization that later became the Mayans and then the Aztecs, right? And they didn't just leave these giant black faces, obviously black faces, these stone heads. Some of them had cornrow braids in the back of their head. They went through all this work to carve their African features, okay, black features, in stone that was they weighed tons, heavy, real stone. They went through all this work. And even this writer right here, I mean, he's a very accomplished professor at Johns Hopkins University, and just because it's Afrocentric doesn't mean it's not real and true and scholarly done. And I mean, these people are very well sought out, respected worldwide. And you can't just be like, oh, they're Afrocentric. That's some ignorant shit to say. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The people who are saying this don't know as much as those people who are writing these books. So, back to this. I mean, I gotta hit on this, because this is crazy. It's letting you know, when right in the heat of battle, while all this shit is going on, hey, this white dude is now the Native American. It used to apply to the original, but now it's them, And right here is a quote from this book. This is just got a description of Native Americans. This guy wrote this based off of what he got from what explorers said from Europe. So they said all primitive tribes known in America are dark, copper-colored with jet black hair, while most possess curls in the extreme and every level of wavy hair in between. The texture of the hair is generally fine, soft, or silk. Blah 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 blah. I could go on and on and on. It describes men as basically having dreadlocks, or long braids. But I mean, this is a description that you wouldn't hear in your history book. And once again, you see who looks like copper, whose skin tone. I know pennies aren't pure copper, but that's close, very close. Okay, it's brown. All right, this is not brown. This is brown. Okay, so the one that's not brown, according to that definition, is now the Native American, and that's why they get pissed off when they hear you say stuff like this. Okay, once again, that 1828 definition of American just gives it away. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So even if your family has not been over here even 200 years, you can claim to be a Native American now if you're European, if you're white. Your parents immigrated here from Sicily, They came over here from Holland. You can be a Native American. And you can get fake outrage, get mad at, black people who are looking into this and thinking outside the box. You can get mad just the fact that they're even thinking about it, that pisses you off. And so this is real. And this outrage over this stuff is fake. And I have to put that on blast because I know too much. I can't go along with this shit. I can't go for the okie doke. I mean, they might fool you, but they don't fool me. You know? So I have to say something about this. And I mean, the slave trade was real, but it's misinterpreted vastly. We maybe go into some of the numbers. It's crazy, but I mean, read this article because I can't talk about it well enough other than you doing your own research. Not just read this article, but read the books, read the sources, and go even further than that. Because if you really want to know and go down the rabbit hole, you'll see that this is a lie. And if you're white and you're cool with pretending and keeping it going and keeping your head in the sand, go for it. I don't give a shit. You know, I didn't really make this for you. I put this out there for the world, but it's really for me, for my people. So, you know, I'm not saying it was fake. The slave trade was real, especially the internal slave trade. Just misinterpreted. I mean, just like with this, you say, okay, 12 million slaves arrived in the entire Americas from Central South to North America over a 310-year period. And then we're giving numbers over what it would take for that to happen. Like, okay, let's say 64,000 slaves transported annually, which couldn't happen because the time passage was 3 to 4 months. That means they would have to send 200 ships a year, each carrying 300 people. And one ship could only make 3 passages per year because it took 3 or 4 months. They might, you know, make maybe 2 or 1 passage a year because in reality they can't just do it like that. So like they weren't actually able to make that many journeys and take that many people. Read this again because the numbers really kill it. That's like the smoking gun, okay? But you know, a lot of people might not want you to read the numbers. They might not want you to even talk about it. It scares them. It's scary as hell to know that a dark-skinned person that looks like this description of the Native Americans is thinking about it and thinking that maybe it could apply to them. I mean, most black people, I don't know about, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of black people I know, and I know my own history, know that they have Native American blood, even if it's whether they have ancestors who actually kept their records, who were registered as Native Americans, or it's just oral history. We know, and it's not just because you were, you know, part of the tribe, maybe because an ancestor was a slave or something like that. It goes deeper than that. The only reason you would have been, it would have been through slavery is because once the white people started taking over the tribes, they made it where in order to be a civilized tribe, you had to own slaves. You had to own a black slave. You know, they came in and fucked shit up, which is what makes sense. I mean, you looked at the definition. It said it originally. That's the fucking smoking gun. I mean, the Webster's dictionary definition right there in the heat of the battle that was going on because it was war. You know, you're killing people and taking their land. It's war. And if you're a real Native American, I don't care if you're white or what, you got to recognize this war. So look at this. This anonymous dude who keeps complaining about Mexico. You know, I had to show him some stuff, man, just to shut him up. Didn't even know that there's black people in Mexico, even to this day. And not only that, but the ancients who actually built the pyramids and stuff were black. They described themselves as black. Everyone else described them as black up until like 100 years ago. Even the older historians, they recognized that and acknowledged that the original people of Mexico were black. This is like a new phenomenon just within the last century of whitewashing everything, you know, because everything couldn't just happen overnight. Okay, and I know that type of information can piss somebody off if you can't handle the truth, but who cares, you know? And so this is just American dude who lives in Guerrero. You don't pronounce it like that. So he just shares pictures of different Mexicans. As you can see, a lot of them are black, just like him. And I was just sharing that. This actually had nothing to do with the side. A lot of people were pissed off. I mean, even this dude, he claims he's Mexican, even though he doesn't show a picture of himself, but yet he's like holding up white supremacy. He's so pissed off to hear that black people were in Mexico. This article wasn't even about Mexico. I just mentioned it, man. But it's crazy, you know. I mean, like the Olmecs, like people get mad at this shit. I'll show you some of the stupid shit that was said, but like the Olmecs went through all this work to carve cornrows, braids onto these, you know, solid stone figures. carved this, and these things weighed tons, and they went through all this work to show this. You know, and not only that, but they painted themselves, and it's a blessing that some of the paintings still survive to this day. The murals, because like paint usually doesn't last thousands of years, but there's paintings, and they paint themselves with dark brown skin, very dark brown, copper colored, just like the natives of America. Okay, so I mean, like, it's, you know, this shouldn't piss you off, but if it does, whatever. I don't care. I'm just gonna put the information out there. I mean, there's no emotions in it, you know. It's just straight information, and if that pisses you off, whatever. I mean, look at this. You know, this is copper color. Some of them are darker, some of them a little lighter, but they're all dark. Hell, there's none of them white. And let me show you this stupid shit this dude said. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can see they're wearing like jaguar skins and stuff, have feathers and stuff like this. I mean, look at this. Come on, man. Come on. I mean, just, okay, that's not an ancient painting, but look at this. I mean, look at the hair. They have like dreadlocks or braids. I mean, come on, man. And that's not a stretch. I'm not reaching at all. I mean, look at how black they are. Get the hell out of here with that shit. It's almost like some of them have do-rags on or something. It's like, come on. Come on, man. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, look at them. Look at their hair again. With the braids and the dreadlocks. You know, look at the dark skin. Come on, man. And that is copper skin tone. That's how come we have pyramids all over North America, too. There's a pyramid not too far from me in Miamisburg. It's one of the biggest here. So, you know, I mean, we're here. We're all up and down the Mississippi. We're all over the place, man. You know? And if that's threatening to some people, feel like Afrocentrics are taking over, whatever, trying to claim everything, whatever. You know, you can't discount the work and the effort that the people who are of African American descent are putting in, that are actually real, you know, scholars with doctorates and PhDs. Get the fuck out of here. This guy said just because they look black, they weren't black. The Olmecs were not black. Just because they look black, they weren't black. You know, this is the type of stupid ass arguments people have. Just because they look black, they weren't black. You know, when you can't say anything else and you start saying stupid shit like that. Alright? I mean, this is crazy. So there's no argument. You know, you just, hey, the information is out here. You know, you can get mad at it if you want. This lady who had got so pissed off, it wasn't even about that article. I mean, I could kind of see if she got pissed about that, but it was actually about a different one. You know, this article right here is just asking the question, what if California was named after a black woman who's a Native American? What if? You know, and it's you just got quotations in here again. It's not just something I made up. You know, it's just what are these lies? Got my link there. I have a 40,000 year lineage in California. This person has a 40,000 year lineage in California. This is like the $5 Indian right here, because they used to be able to get listed on the Indian rolls for just $5. Europeans, that's all they had to do. So, you know, yeah, just really pissed and emotional. I'm not gonna read this shit. Just a bunch of emotional comments. This is crap. It's evil, dismissive, genocide survivor. This is a genocide survivor. These are the type of people who are hanging people from trees. But hey, whatever. Okay, so this is a Native American because the 1828 definition says that's a Native American. Wendy Ireland too. I mean, very Native American sounding name. Ireland is definitely an indigenous American name, and she's a 40,000 year lineage in California, and that pissed her off. This is not the only person that gets pissed off. But I just responded, just, you know, hey, sourced inside it, whatever. Emotionals, get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know, hey, you can't argue it. And she didn't come back with any argument. She just tried to put my post on blast on Facebook. So that's really the only reason I'm putting this out here, because you try to put it on blast, but you got no facts. And it just posed the question, was California named after Queen Khalifa? And it tells why. You know, first off, we got this old novel that's over 500 years old, where a Spanish writer had based a story off of tales that were told to him, stories by Spanish conquistadors. And he told about Queen Khalifa. And Queen Khalifa is depicted as a black woman always. She's even in the Senate House building in Sacramento, right? And all over California. I mean, you see murals painted, even like street art and stuff like that. For some reason, everybody knows the painter is a black woman. Okay, so it's just like a cultural thing. Okay, but this is actually from, I believe, the state capitol. Yeah, the Senate House. This is in like the House of Representatives in California, Queen Khalifa. And so this, and once again, like, I didn't make this up. I was just asking questions. What if there's any truth to this myth, this story, you know? Because I know for a fact that there were black people in California when the whites arrived, just like they're still there now. And you even had like there was this exhibit in Disneyland where Whoopi Goldberg did the voice of Queen Khalifa, and this, you can see there was the statue of her. It was like a talking statue that looked like her. And she told the history of California and everything. And so, like I said, this is just a cool article, just explaining and asking questions and not talking bad about white people or $5 Indians or any of that shit. Didn't say anything about white people at all. Now, I could kind of see if she got mad at this one, even though this didn't trash white people. It's just really focusing on telling the truth about black people who have Native American roots. I mean, I could see if she got pissed off at this or anyone else. Okay, because it's black, it's putting it out there. There's no secret. It's not talking shit about white people at all. It's just making no secret. Hey, this is the copper skin tone color, and then it's like giving the definition of what happened, you know. But this is like the Native Americans now. These are the Native Americans. Like the 1828 definition tells you, hey, it used to apply to those copper skin tone people, but now it applies to the descendants of Europeans who were born here. So all you have to do is be white and be born in the United States, and you can claim to be Native American. And you can also get pissed off when you see the copper skin tone original people just questioning, just thinking outside the box, you know, just saying, hey, maybe my grandfather's not a liar and crazy, you know, when he's talking about his own Blackfoot history, his own Blackfoot roots. Maybe he's not crazy, you know. So but this is Native American. Hey, it says right there. I mean, this is what happened. They took over and then can get pissed off and mad and get fake outrage. You're just asking a question. Like I said, the article doesn't say anything about black people, white people, or anything. But hey, you can't even ask those questions, because those questions are very, very dangerous. They're explosive. They worry people. As you can see from this, what did this lady say? This black natives theory has many, many supporters, and it worries the hell out of me. It also erases their own history. Like, she really give a fuck about your history. Yeah, look at this lady. I'm gonna put that up a little bigger for you. Yeah. This black natives theory has many, many, many supporters, and it worries the hell out of me. And then just go on to say, talking about basically blacks claiming themselves as indigenous. That's what pisses her off. The theory that we were always here. That worries the hell out of her. And she's hearing more and more and more and more people starting to think about this and question and starting to claim it. And it's pissing them off. And they're worried. And they're talking about it. They probably didn't think anybody was going to see this shit, except for their friends. I mean, this is like some new age, you know, $5 Indian, bunch of new age white people, and they're supposed to be so enlightened, but they're not very enlightened, are they? You know, you can't even ask questions that make sense, because this is just going off of historical descriptions of the Native Americans. What's wrong with looking at what the people who were interacting with them said at the time about them? And it's not like those European explorers were trying to big up black people when they described the Native Americans as being black. They weren't trying to big them up. They were killing them. They didn't like them. They just described them. Yeah, they got dark brown skin and their hair is nappy or curly or wavy or whatever. Yeah, this is what they look like. They weren't trying to big them up. And these descriptions are like 400 or 500 years old, 300 years old. It's like, get the fuck out of here. We can't even talk about it. That worries the hell out of you. big lips are not evidence of Africans. This is the type of comebacks and the type of argument these motherfuckers have. You know, and yeah, I'm cursing, I don't care. This is crazy because this is asinine, this is ignorant. This is beneath me. This level is so low. There's nothing scholarly or intelligent about it. So, you know, when I'm reading this stuff, I have to curse because it's just ignorance bullshit, man. It is straight bullshit. And I don't like that. But this is a Native American. If you are of European descent and you are born in America, you can claim it. You know, the original copper color races, oh, they're not Native American anymore. Fuck them. And it's a big deal because there's a lot of money. I mean, like Obama, while he was in office, he signed some bill to give billions of dollars to Native Americans. He just signed it, and that's real. I mean, money and resources is what's real. They're gonna get protection. They're gonna get land. They're gonna get grants. They're gonna get money. You know, they already have casinos. A lot of Native Americans have casinos, and they get real money, having resorts and things that bring in billions. And I mean, they look like this movie, with Eddie Murphy. Imagine that, where they're like ad marketing execs or something, and this Johnny Whitefeather dude's coming in talking about one sky, and he's got this whole little fake Native American thing wearing a feather and all that shit, and at the very end they're both like trying to take over the company while the owner retires, and he busted Johnny Whitefeather ass out, and he's like, look man, you're not even Native American. He's fucking descendant of European immigrants. Okay, and the whole time he's doing all this Native American talk and everything. He's so Native American, and you know, Johnny Whitefeather is getting pissed off that the dark copper skin tone Aboriginal is starting to look outside the box. Just looking outside the box is terrifying. Okay, this Johnny Whitefeather don't want you getting any casino money, any grants, any resources. He don't want you doing anything, because as long as your ass is asleep and you just going along with the thing that's not empowering you at all, Johnny Whitefeather's cool. You know, so that's really why I wanted to put this on blast, because there's no reason to be mad about this. Like, the little article was just asking, what if California was native? It didn't even say anything. It didn't even have the picture of the white person with the black person who's obviously copper skin tone. It didn't even have that. So, whatever. Alright, y'all.